Puss in Boots. Once upon a time, there lived a talking cat. One day, the cat said to his master, who was a poor miller's son, "Give me a hat, a pair of boots, and a bag, and I have a plan to make you rich and famous." Puss in Boots, as he was called, was a smart cat. He caught many lovely birds and rabbits, put them in his bag, and went to the king. He bowed to the king and said, "Your Majesty, I bring you a gift from my noble master, the Marquis of Carabas." Now the king did not know who the Marquis of Carabas was. In fact, it was a name that Puss made up, but he was very pleased with the gift. From that day, every morning, Puss caught an animal and gifted it to the king. One day, the king was going for a ride in the forest. Immediately, Puss told his master, "Please go bathe in the river in the forest." As soon as his master was in the water, Puss took his clothes and hid them under a big rock. Puss then ran towards the king's carriage and shouted, "Help! Help! The Marquis of Carabas is drowning." When the king heard that the kind Marquis, who had given him so many gifts, was in danger, he sent his men to save him. Puss then added, "While my master was in the water, some thieves ran away with all his clothes and his carriage." At once, the king gave him grand clothes to wear and invited him to ride in his carriage. Now, the miller's son looked like a real prince. Puss's plan was not yet over. He ran ahead of the king's carriage and said to everybody on the road, "If the king asks you who you work for, you must say that you work for the kind Marquis of Carabas." So when the king and the miller's son came by, all the workers waved and cheered. "Hail the Marquis of Carabas," they said. They told the king, "We work for the noble Marquis of Carabas. He owns all this land." All the lands actually belonged to a very rich and very wicked ogre. Puss quickly went to the ogre's castle and bravely said, "I have heard that you are a very powerful ogre who can change into any animal. Can you change into a tiny animal like a mouse?" The ogre was flattered by Puss in Boots' words. "Of course I can. I'll show you right away," he said, and turned into a tiny brown mouse. In a flash, Puss jumped on him and ate him up in one big bite. The castle now belonged to his master. By then, the king's carriage had reached the beautiful castle. "Welcome to my master's castle," said Puss. The king was very impressed. "The Marquis of Carabas is a great man," he thought. "I shall get my daughter married to him at once." So, thanks to clever Puss in Boots, the poor miller's son became the rich, famous Marquis of Carabas. As for Puss, he lived happily like a prince in the castle and never had to hunt for a mouse ever again.